Hello everyone, I'm Hajat Dalawal and I'm with the Windows commercial team at Microsoft. Here's another episode and with one of my colleagues and someone who I spent time with at last year's Ignite, Tristan. Welcome Tristan, it's great to have you here.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, so introduce yourself. Let people know who you are, what you do, what areas do you focus on?
Yeah, Tristan, I'm a GPM on the Windows 365, AVD, and RDS team. So we kind of manage all of the virtualization space within Microsoft. Me personally, I'm responsible for the enterprise businesses across this. So that's all of AVD. We have Windows 365 Enterprise as a product.
Sure.
Frontline as a product. Government is another product we have. And then, of course, RDS, our old favorite, is still there as well.
Right. So let's talk about Windows 365. So when I first heard about Windows 365 when it first launched, I was already in the AVD space because I was in higher ed and stuff like that, right? Obviously using a competitor's product, whatever.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Unfortunately, yeah. So that was the space I was in, and I was really familiar with it, but it was really tedious. From setting it up and managing it and stuff like that. And then when I heard about Windows 365, I'm like, oh my God, this is brilliant. Right? It's anybody can use it from anywhere, any device, and obviously we went slow, right? We got to where we are now. So what can you talk to us about Windows 365? How excited are you? What are you working on?
Right. I've been on Windows 365 since the beginning, it was almost exactly 4 years ago when we first built this thing.
Okay.
And before that, I worked on Intune for about 4 years. And I've been at Microsoft where pretty much every 4 years I go to change products, I would say.
All right.
And this is the first time where we're 4 years into Windows 365. And I'm like, man, we're just getting started on this thing.
Just started, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But going back to the genesis of 4 years ago, the fact that it came from Intune was an important thing because we were looking at, we work with endpoint admins. Is there a way that we can bring the simplification of endpoint management? Just if you know how to manage a PC, can you make this available to people that want to get the value of virtualization? And so as quickly as we could, we spun up a team right through COVID, kind of lived ourselves this environment of working in the hybrid and remote work environment. And 4 years later, we're off to a great start. But like I say, I feel like we're still just on the early days of really changing the way end user computing looks.
We haven't even seen the super greatness yet. It's more to come, right?
Right. I feel torn about how to say that because there's truly been so much success and there's so much that's changing right now. But the world of Windows is huge.
Exactly.
And so, from a Microsoft perspective, it's this hugely successful product. And honestly, it's not just Windows 365, it's AVD too.
Right.
AVD 2 is still changing the world of end user computing, making virtualization so much more successful. So our ambitions for these two products together are just astronomical. And I think the reason I'm staying kind of in this space is because it's just the opportunity is so huge. We have so much top-down support from our leadership at Microsoft where everyone believes this is the future of Windows. And man, I want to be a part of that.
I was having some conversations today. I ran into a couple of people today about, Windows 11 and stuff like that. And, conversation came up about Windows 365 AVD. It's like, we're doing AVD. I'm like, oh, what about Windows? No, we are focusing on AVD because of certain applications and stuff like that they're doing. I said, you know what, that's perfect. That's the whole use case for it.
Right.
So when COVID hit and, we went to this, all of a sudden this, hybrid, scenario, did we see a spike in usage of Windows 365?
So it was March 2020 when we officially started Windows 365. And I remember this because it was the week that Microsoft shut down. I remember driving home this day and telling my wife, hey, we're going to be at home for 2 weeks. We're like,
oh, just 2 weeks.
We're like party time. Of course, this turned into a couple of years.
Right.
But at this time, AVD was in market. And so AVD, no doubt, was the product that was there at the time of COVID when everyone was caught unprepared
Right.
for how to enable their remote workforce that's at home. So Windows 365 has kind of caught the next wave of that, I would say, but really AVD was the thing that was there at the heart of COVID.
At the heart of COVID?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at the same point in time, I know I used to be a diehard config manager. I still love config manager and stuff, but we also saw a spike in, Intune implementations because like, oh my God, how do we start managing our remote workers and stuff, right?
Right.
So
well, it's all correlated because you realize what the thing you need is agility. And the things that give you agility is, the cloud and SaaS services. And so when you have these dependencies on like specific regions and on-prem hardware, you realize, when there's an unexpected event like COVID, you're just not prepared to be agile for the changing needs of your workforce. So
true.
I think this was all inevitable. People are going to be moving to more simplified solutions, moving to the cloud. But COVID has kind of accelerated all of this. So if you oversimplify, think of AVD as kind of a PaaS solution. Right. If you had on-prem VDI environment, here's a cloud VDI PaaS environment that makes your life so much simpler.
Right.
You don't need to think about gateways and brokers and licensing servers. You just move it to the cloud anywhere in the world. Hugely valuable.
Yeah.
If you want to take the next step of moving to SaaS, that's going to make you that much more agile for the current world of remote and hybrid work, but also the next event that requires agility.
Sure. I was having a conversation. I did actually an episode with one of our MVPs who's very much into Windows 365. That's his space. And we talked about frontline worker especially. Right. And he said, oh yeah, so I was bringing up about, shift workers and things like that, right? Like, we made it simple now with the licensing and all that fun stuff. He said, I'm seeing a different use case for frontline worker as well. You got contractors and things like that, right? That come to businesses and they just need to work for, a short duration and stuff like that. Here we go. We can get them in. They can access our resources and stuff like that.
Right.
So where do you see all of this going?
Yeah. Well, our ambition, so there's a product that you're referencing called Windows 365 Frontline, which we just announced a few months ago. And our ambition is to really evolve all of end user computing. So it's not just cover all the virtualization scenarios, it's cover all of the computing scenarios. And this includes information workers, frontline workers. The thing that I always like to clarify early on is people hear Windows 365 Frontline and think, okay, well, this is for my frontline workers. And I have some assumption about who those people are.
Yeah.
The easier way I think to think about it is any part-time and shift workers.
Sure, yeah.
It's a set of features and a licensing model which is optimized for those part-time and shift workers where they don't need a 24/7, definitely available, always persistent machine available. So we really try to find the balance of our customers were saying, give me something for my part-time and shift workers, but keep with that simplicity of management that you get with Windows 365 Enterprise and the Intune console. Give me that persistence where each user gets their own Cloud PC.
Personalized too.
Right, exactly. It's a core kind of value prop of Cloud PC. And so we announced this, and then now we're kind of on to the next thing. This is what our team does. It's been the first time I've ever had where you go to events and meet with customers and partners, and they are like, holy cow, this is getting really difficult to keep up with all of the changes you guys have coming, new features that are coming. So it's like, I'm so used to people saying work faster and harder and all your things. We're knocking out so many new things that we got to figure out how to like package this in a consumable way.
But it feels like, like we have, Windows 365 boot, switch, frontline worker. They're awesome new features, but they don't seem complicated. Right? So you are making it simple, to be honest with you, from what I'm seeing. Hey, boot, straight off, right? You don't have to have double clicks and things like that. You just get into your environment. Switch, hey, you can, multi-focus on your, your personal and your, it's brilliant. And
well, it's so core to our value prop is simplicity, because there's I came from Intune, so the first obvious thing to me was we have to make this just feel like managing a physical PC. But then when you go to the end user experience, you got to realize they don't understand virtualization.
No.
They don't understand this. We always say we don't want it to feel like Inception. You log into the local Windows machine, and then you log into the virtual Windows machine. It's confusing if you're a normal human being.
Exactly.
And so this is what
which one is which?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with Switch, I think this is going to be a real
it's a
game changer when you think about BYO in particular.
Yeah, of course.
Because you just get your own personal machine, and this is your world, your personal machine, and then your work environment is your cloud PC. And with a keystroke or some finger swipes, you can just get over to your work environment, swipe back, get to your personal environment.
And it's all separated too.
Right.
So,
right.
A couple of things I want to touch upon real quick is, and this always comes up, right? Security, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what are we doing for security for Cloud PC? And let's start with that first.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I remember a lot of what we think about with security is we always want to make it not be like a trade-off of user experience and security. And so I think the most important thing that comes out of our experience for Ignite announcements is SSO. Oh, this to me is a security investment. You might think of it as a user experience investment because now all of a sudden users don't get these extra prompts. No one likes extra prompts that are unnecessary when you log into your Cloud PC or AVD virtual machine. But when you make it easy and secure to do authentication and authorization, this to me at its core is a security feature as well, because you got to find that you make it easy to get security here. So you can still apply your conditional access policies. You can still have whatever kind of step-up authentications you need,
right?
But you don't have to have unnecessary extra prompts within this. So this to me is one of these like game changers. When you have a Microsoft solution that goes from a native client to a customized, Windows that is optimized for these cloud services with an Azure service that works together with these things end to end. This is how you get these end-to-end experiences.
Simple, easy.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the last things I want to talk about is Copilot.
Yeah.
AI.
I've heard of this.
You know?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I too I'm excited about it.
All right.
I know this is like, of course, you work at Microsoft, but there's so much stuff
we've been working on this stuff for a while now, so it's really exciting. So I've heard some new announcements from from Microsoft Ignite, the keynote, Satya, right? Brilliant. I mean, I've been working in this space for in the Windows side and a little bit on the Intune side, but then there was somebody announced. I'm like, oh my God, we're doing that. That's so cool. That's so cool, right?
Right.
So how do you see that taking place with Windows 365 Cloud and AVD and
Right. Okay. So again, I come from a management background and I'm responsible for our enterprise customers. So what I'm most interested in right now is the opportunity for IT simplicity. This is not something
for the IT admins.
Yes.
Okay.
Because a lot of the Copilot experiences you see right now are really more for the end users.
The end user, right? Okay.
Which is crazy powerful, so valuable. We've all played with ChatGPT. It's like wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. The Teams notes that it takes for end users.
Summarize the meaning for me.
This is the thing I tell my wife. I'm like, when you see this is going to change your world. It is so powerful.
Yes.
And so this is the next thing from an IT perspective I think is going to be really big is just, how we try to make it easy. You've heard us talk about modern management for a long time. I think this is the next level, is you just have a Copilot experience that tells you, advises you on what you should do next, how to automate things, and you're just saying, yep, do that. This is how I deliver a better user experience without trying to kind of sift through all of the data to figure out what should I do. I think it's going to be another level of game change that we can do. So at Ignite, the big kind of things we announced is there's some Copilot integrations into the Intune console.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we announced our first AI feature with Windows 365, where we start to kind of surface for you automated insights about right-sizing your Cloud PCs.
Oh, yes.
Right. So this is one of those things that you can only do with Cloud PCs, right? Just be able to instantly resize and change the computing power.
Because you couldn't do that before, right? It was like, once you set it, that's what you get. Now you can right-size and shift it up and down. And that's AI. That's okay.
Yeah. So it's really exciting. There is so much activity inside of Microsoft about the things we can do here. So we're just on a race to see how much we can get out as quick as possible.
Yeah, and we're just like on the infancy stages, I feel like. There's so much more to come. Oh my God.
Right.
I can't imagine.
Right.
And so do you have any, last words for our audience, customers, IT pros, about Windows 11, Windows 365, Intune?
If you know how to use Intune, you know how to use Windows 365. So if you haven't tried it, try it out. It's so easy to use. Also think of AVD and Windows 365 as a way to get access to Windows 11. The deadline for getting to Windows 11 is coming up imminently. So, the opportunity to just move that workload to virtualization is sitting right there with AVD or Cloud PCs. So those are like the practical next steps, I would say.
Okay. Tristan, this is amazing. It was great to talk to you. I mean, I always have fun with you. We work closely together, behind the scenes and stuff like that. Thanks for joining me on the show. Thank you for watching Tackling Tech. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time.